live again. June 26th, we are officially 70 days away from the NFL season. It's exciting times. We're slowly getting there. We're in that dead zone right now, between OTAs finishing and training camps starting. Not a whole lot of news happening. So just double checking when training camps actually start. I know a couple of them are going to be pretty soon. I guess Kevin's here. What's up, Kevin? Looks like the earliest is the 22nd. Nope, we got the 16th for the Chargers. Actually, rookies come in on the 12th for the Chargers, 16th for veterans or all players. So that looks to be like the earliest. I know the Chargers and Lions are playing in the Hall of Fame game, which is actually on July 31st this year. So it's very rare we get the first preseason game in July, but we're getting that this year. And that's because the NFL season's also starting pretty early this year, September 4th. Yeah, Kevin, your Pacers, they were close. They were close. I mean, Halliburton going down, that's tough. It's tough to see that. You kind of left it all on the court there, and yeah, obviously wasn't healthy, tried to play, and I think that really affected them because they were winning at halftime, if I remember correctly. I know he went down pretty early, but they were winning at halftime, but it just feels like they couldn't really hold on there. So sorry about that. That's tough. It's tough for your team to kind of go all the way to the last game of the year and not be able to pull it out. So tough indeed. Are you a full-on Indiana, Pacers, Colts fan and all that? Do you have or do you have different football team, Kevin? Because hopefully, I mean, maybe the Colts will be good this year, but hopefully it's another team and you can be excited about the football season coming up. But we are today just kind of, answering questions that you guys have. We're going to start looking a little bit more towards redraft. Obviously, still talking dynasty every single time we are live, and that is always welcome, but kind of get a little bit more into redraft rankings and how the draft is starting to shape out a little bit. So Pacers, Colts, Reds. Yeah, that is tough. Your Reds play my Padres this weekend. Yeah, that's tough. I'm curious. So your Pacers, Colts, and then obviously Indianapolis doesn't have a baseball team. So are a lot of people that live in Indiana, do they support the Reds, or is it just kind of choose whoever you want to choose type of thing? Or I'm kind of curious about that. If you get that a lot of Reds fans, throughout the state of Indiana or Indianapolis. So I guess that would probably, if you're in Indianapolis, that would probably be the closest, right? Or no, yeah, that would be the closest to you. Just a couple hours there. So split between Reds and Cubs. Okay. No White Sox then. No love for the White Sox. That's rough. And I understand why, but yeah, interesting. That's less and less of a thing nowadays is supporting your team geographically. Just because it used to be, obviously when before we had all these Red Zone and you can get every game, you just kind of watched what was on TV and it was always the local team. So nice to see that we still got some geographical loyalty and things like that. But yeah, we're just talking, answering questions. Drop them in there. Trade questions, stash questions. I know, again, it's that dead period for sure. I can see it in most of our leagues, that we're in. Not a whole lot of action happening, and again, that it kind of makes sense. So we're even a little bit slower on this channel, just in terms of content that we're putting out. We'll kind of start ramping it up here in the next couple of weeks again. Get back to a good schedule and all that. So. Redraft and Contender Dynasty, how in are you on CMC and Henry? Easy to get in Dynasty right now. Yeah, I would say I'm very in on both those players. So, like I said, we're gonna I kind of prepared um, a not really a mock draft, but I kind of put it out and I'll share it with you here, just so we can get a better idea here. But looked at some current ADP right now, and keep in mind when it comes to ADP, and this is for redraft, half PPR ADP. This is kind of what the first 15 rounds are shaping up to look like. And keep in mind when it comes to this, a lot of this is because of best ball, and so that does change. Trying to see where the best location for me to go is. That does kind of change, a little bit on how people are drafted. But I'm very in on CMC and Henry. Obviously, Henry, I think basically back into the first round, that 1-2 turn right now in half PPR, those two players are going, and I would probably take McCaffrey even higher than that. I don't know if I'm sitting there at like the 109, 108, 109, 110. I may in at least a couple leagues, assuming I play in a handful of redraft leagues, I think I'm going to want a share of McCaffrey, and I don't think I'm going to let him get out of the first round too often when I'm in that back end. So that kind of should tell you how I view him and how I value him right now. Um, so yeah, I mean it's all just about health with McCaffrey, right? It's all about health and is he going to be healthy? Because if he is, he's going to be awesome, right? He's going to be awesome. I also think the 49ers are going to be, I know a lot of us are kind of counting the 49ers out a little bit, just because they've let some players go and it feels like they're trying to do like a soft rebuild, but I actually think they're going to be pretty good this year. Their schedule is like incredible. You look at their schedule, the 49ers, and so they get, obviously they get their divisional guys. So Seahawks, Rams, Cardinals twice a year. Those are always going to be tough, but they should be able to, if they are good, win 4 of those. Then they play some other teams that they play 49ers, the Jags. I think they would be favored in the 2 of those games. They play both those teams in September. They also play, teams like the Falcons, Texans. They got some kind of, in my opinion, what should be as close to an automatic win as you can get in the NFL. Nothing's an automatic win, but again, Saints, Giants, Panthers, Browns, Titans, those 5 teams, Colts as well. There's 6 teams right there that I think they should win if they are what I think they're going to be. Plus, you win 4 more games from your division, even 3 games. You're sitting at 9 wins right there, just by that. And that doesn't even count other games where it's like Texans, Falcons, Buccaneers. I think that is it. Bears, even like all those other teams where it's like, yeah, they could win literally all those games. So I think they have a pretty nice schedule. So that all circles back to McCaffrey. And I think I'm not too worried about, the team not being competitive enough or being able to score enough points and things like that. So yeah, I'm very, very in on a guy like McCaffrey, both in redraft and Henry, by the way, both redraft and contender dynasty. I value running backs a little bit differently, I think, than a lot of other creators or content creators or just dynasty players in general. I'll take one year of a top 5 running back, right? Like if you told me, would you rather have CMC this year, and assuming, in my opinion, he's going to be a top 5 guy if he's healthy, or a running back who will play for the next 5 years, or even Derrick Henry, because we're kind of year to year with Henry, but we think he's going to finish top 5 this year. I'd rather have 1 top 5 season than 5 RB20 seasons. And so for that reason, I'm going to be higher on these type of guys. I'm going to value those guys that I think can be top 5. Like, I don't really care. To me, it's kind of crazy, that someone let's just throw out a couple names here. What's a good name to throw out? A Brian Robinson or a Pacheco. Like, and I'm not saying they are higher value to anyone in Dynasty, but for me, for those guys to be valued higher than guys like a Derrick Henry, for example, which, by the way, last year, I think they were. Derrick Henry fell to like RB 30 or 40 or something like that. Because those guys, it's like, well, what are you really getting, right? What are you really getting with those guys? So, I'm very in on them. McCaffrey, to me, again, if I'm sitting on the back this range of players here, 108 to 112, and McCaffrey's there, I'm really going to be thinking about taking McCaffrey with as high as like that 108. So hopefully that kind of answers your question. And Henry, right around here, like if I can start Amon-Ra, Henry, Nico Collins, and Henry, even McCaffrey and Henry, I'm going to be really, really happy there. Really happy. I mean, we keep talking about Derrick Henry, and okay, this is the year. It feels like we've been talking about it for 5 years now. The guy just came off like arguably his best season in his career. Even potentially better. I don't know fantasy points per game wise if he was better, but he had 30 less yards and one more touchdown than his MVP. Like, it wasn't MVP, but Offensive Player of the Year, rushed for 2,000 yard season. It's easy to forget that Derrick Henry almost rushed for 2,000 yards. So, and he averaged 5.9 yards per carry, which was the best in his career. That's the Lamar effect, right? So, both those guys to me are I'm easily taking a guy like Henry over a guy like Drake London in half PPR, in full PPR. It's closer, but I think I would too. Like, I'm kind of easily taking them over those guys. So Rocky's here. Good to see you too, Rocky. Caesar's here. Good to see you, Caesar. If you guys have any questions, Dynasty questions, trades, redraft questions, drop them in the chat. Just kind of going live here. Didn't go live over the weekend, so had some things come up. But we're going to get back to a regular schedule of, Thursdays, Saturdays, Sundays, and when the season starts, and maybe even in August, we're going to basically be, at least I am, going to be going live every single day during the season. I've kind of made it a little bit of a goal of mine that I want to try and go live every single day during the season. Not saying I'm going to go live for 2 hours every day. Some of them could be 30 minutes, but I want to try and go live every single day, kind of be here for you guys. Start, sit stuff, all that fun stuff that happens during the season. So kind of taking a little bit of a mini break here while still producing content and going live for you guys and stuff. But today we're kind of just looking at, if we don't get any questions and stuff, in your main league, which weekend are you drafting in? Yeah, that's a good question. Let me pull up the calendar here, because the NFL season does start early this year, right? It starts early this year, and it's a little bit tough because usually I feel like maybe that's not true. I was kind of thinking that Labor Day weekend generally happens the weekend before. No, it is the weekend kind of the NFL season, right? It's like Labor Day weekend, and then that following Thursday is usually when the NFL starts. I'm shooting, basically what I'm shooting for is the weekend of the 23rd or 22nd, however you want to. So August 22nd, 23rd, 24th, or Labor Day weekend. The reason why I always go with, I kind of give, I announce, if I'm the commissioner of my leagues, I say, okay, I kind of announce like as early as like August 1st. I try and get this out there, and I say, these are the 2 weekends I want to draft. I don't want to be drafting while preseason's happening. And so it's one of those 2 weekends for me, because I believe that let me see when the last preseason game actually ends. So the last preseason game is the 23rd. So ideally I want to be drafting like the 24th on Sunday. 23rd is fine. Sometime during that week, all the way up until when the NFL season starts. So, yeah, yeah. So that's ideally when I want to do it. Labor Day can be tough though because I know people go out of town. It's kind of the last, unofficial end of summer. Really, I know summer doesn't technically end until like September 20th or whatever, but for most people, it's kind of the unofficial end of the summer, Labor Day weekend. So a lot of people do that kind of last trip or whatever it is that they do those weekends. So I really don't want to be doing it earlier than the 23rd this year. So because you still have NFL, you still have preseason games going on now. You don't normally get a lot of starters and fantasy relevant, especially in redraft. You don't really get a lot of guys that are being drafted. That are starting in those games. So it's usually okay to do it that weekend, I would say. But those are the 2 weekends, and of course, any day during the week that you can kind of find time for. So, but yeah, it's coming. It's coming fast. If you weren't here at the top of the show, the first training camp rookies starts on July 12th. I think it was the what did I say? The Chargers. Chargers and Lions are going to be starting training camp pretty early because they play in the first Hall of Fame game. They play in the first preseason game, and the Hall of Fame game this year is on the 31st of July. Normally it's in August, but because everything's a little pushed up this year, so it's kind of coming fast here. I mean, you basically got 2.5 weeks, and then we get training camp news starting to pop up. I know it's literally 2 weeks away from this Saturday. Right? Yeah, 2 weeks from this Saturday, you get rookies reporting for the Chargers. I assume the Lions will be shortly after that. And then, a few days later, you're going to be getting veterans reporting. So we're going to get training camp news here in about 2.5 weeks, which is crazy. For me, it felt like this offseason went by kind of fast. I don't know about for you guys. I know generally it feels really long, which the NFL offseason is pretty long. Early February to early September. So it's that 7 months of off season, and maybe even longer for most of us, because it ends in either early January or sometime in January. So sometimes it's more of an 8. And for us fantasy guys, it ends the end of December, right? So it's really like a 9-month, 8-9 month type of thing. So, but yeah, we're here, man. Training camp's coming up. And hopefully that kind of ramps up trades and stuff like that in Dynasty League. So Rocky said last year I felt I had a pretty good feel on rankings, but this year just seems everything is all over the place. CMC at the turn, Mahomes in the 6th round. Yeah, that's why I want to start getting into. I'm kind of formulating my rankings. I should have that for you guys. I want to say ideally I'd like it by mid-July, but it's probably going to be closer to like July 20th, July 25th, kind of my first rankings that are going to come out, start making videos about it, start going over it on live streams, and I'll kind of give you guys access to it as well if you're in the Discord. And if you're not, I know most of you in here are in the Discord, but if you're not, I'll leave it I'll leave the link here in the chat, but it does feel a little weird. I will say this though, last year I felt like the second round got really ugly really quickly. Like when it started getting to guys like Marvin Harrison Jr. and there was a couple other guys I can't remember that just didn't feel like second round picks. I'm sure some of them smashed and stuff, but they didn't feel like second round picks, and they were going like the 4th or 5th pick of the second round. This year, I do feel much better about it. So real quick, this isn't a draft, by the way, guys. That's why you see like Team 1 have 5 quarterbacks. This is redraft. I looked at some redraft ADP, current ADP for half PPR, and then I just drafted according to that. So this isn't obviously like this team wouldn't take 5 quarterbacks, and this team probably doesn't take 2 tight ends in a 1 tight end league and stuff. So that's why it looks a little wonky. It's more of just like roughly where these players are going, right around there. So, um, yeah, so I'm going to kind of just go through, probably get through the first few rounds and my opinions on them and things like that, and who I'm liking in each round, who I'm not liking in each round, as I start to kind of get a feel for this year. But I do feel better about, getting back to your comment here up here, Rocky, about the second round this year. Just seeing guys like Jonathan Taylor, Bucky Irving, Josh Jacobs going in the second round. It felt like last year the second round was pretty dang gross, and so kind of interesting there. Um, yeah, just got to get through July, like Kevin said. Yeah, just got to get through July, and again, like we'll start getting news, which is going to affect rankings. You know, perfect example. You know, Dante Thornton. I think it's. I want to say Thornton, but there is an N in there, so I don't know if it's Thornton. I have to look that up, but I'll just say Thornton right now. Dante Thornton Jr. For the Raiders, playing with the starters during OTAs, right? And that's boosting his dynasty value, obviously, as it should. Doesn't mean he's going to be good for fantasy or anything. No, but he's a big, tall, fast wide receiver, and teams really value that kind of skill set. So I could see him definitely playing with the starters. And so stuff like that's going to start coming out. You know, people are going to get hyped up. Clyde Edwards-Helaire was a big one. I feel like during training camp, maybe it was OTAs, not Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Isaiah Pacheco was a big one, where it was definitely after rookie drafts. So I want to say it was training camp, and he was starting to get buzz around him. And then obviously, you know, he became the starter and all of that. So, it's Kevin here says thoughts on Darnold this coming year. Think Milroe will be on his heels. Milroe still a good buy, and hearing good stuff on Milroe. Just not confident in Darnold. I think Darnold would really have to revert back to, you know, the Darnold of the New York Jets. I don't think this is like a Russell Wilson. If you guys remember, if you've been watching and playing fantasy long enough, when Russell Wilson was a rookie, they paid Matt Flynn, he was the backup to Aaron Rodgers. They paid him a bunch of money that offseason, I think before they drafted Russell Wilson. And then Russell Wilson, as a third-round pick, he won the job. So it's almost like it's happening again, right? You have a quarterback coming from the NFC North. They paid him a bunch of money. They drafted a quarterback in the third round. The biggest difference there is that Matt Flynn got a bunch of money from the Seahawks because he threw 6 touchdowns in the last week of the season in a meaningless game in the season against the Lions, who were not very good that year. So like that's different than Sam Darnold getting all this. You know, he had an entire season of looking good. So I don't think Milroe's going to be on his heels this year. He'd have to be pretty bad, in my opinion, for that to happen. I have heard good things about him, but I also have heard that he's not quite ready. Like, the talent is there, the potential is there, but he's just not quite up to snuff yet, right? Like, he's not quite there yet to be really pushing Darnold for that job. We'll see. Darnold was really good last year. He always had the talent. That's why he was drafted where he was drafted, second overall or something. He always had that arm talent. It was just the Jets and that whole situation. I mean, who was Sam Darnold's best receiver or tight end while he was on the Jets? My guess would be Jamison Crowder or Robbie Chosen Anderson or whatever his name is at the moment. Like, that would probably be my guess. It was like those guys. And that's not great. And when you put him on a team with Justin Jefferson and Hawkinson and Addison and Aaron Jones and Kevin O'Connell, it makes him look good. Now, I do think his talent has taken a step back in terms of who he's throwing the ball to, but he has good talent. He has Jackson Smith-Njigba, who kind of broke out last year. He has Cooper Kupp, who I think can put up a really good season. I still think he can be – just kind of look at what Adam Thielen's done in Carolina, playing like kind of transitioning to like a full time slot player, and he's kind of revived, not revived, but he's extended his career by a couple of years, having one good season in 2023, and then he averaged Adam Thielen even last year at the age of 34 was averaging almost 5 catches a game and 61 yards. So 61 and a half yards. I mean, Adam Thielen would have been a 1,000-yard receiver again. And he's done that because he kind of plays in the slot and he's willing to play in the slot. And Cooper Kupp he can thrive in that situation. It will be interesting to see how they use JSN and Cooper Kupp, because I think the reason why JSN broke out a little bit was part of the reason why is because he plays in the slot. Obviously, you need them to play on the outside too. But he has good weapons, Darnold. Cooper Kupp. He has Jackson Smith and Jigba. Don't underrate, a guy like MVS who, I know he's a little bit, we kind of think of him as like a bust, so to speak, but like he's a player, he's a professional wide receiver that has a role on teams and teams value it. And we've seen him have these spurts of good play, kind of like last year with the Saints. They have Jake Bobo there, who's a fine wide receiver 4 or 5. Torrey Horton, the 5th round pick, who I kind of like. And then they have guys like Noah Fant at the tight end position. Again, I know we kind of like joke because Noah Fant has never lived up to what we expected him to as a 1st round pick at the tight end spot, but he's a pretty consistent tight end. Like he's a pretty slightly above average tight end. I'd say above average tight end in terms of receiving ability. Plus they drafted Elijah Arroyo. Plus they have AJ Barner, Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet. There's definitely some good pieces there. So overall, I think Darnold's probably going to be, I would bank on him being QB 15 to 18 in that range. So super flex leagues, he's quite valuable. Redraft, 1 QB leagues, either dynasty or redraft, he's probably just a streamer or bye week replacement at best. So Kelsey has taken a pretty big backseat this year. Yeah. Kelsey's an interesting one. So Kelsey is going here in redraft again, guys. This is not a real draft. This is just half PPR, current ADP from the sources that I gathered, current ADP. So that's why this team has 5 tight ends, right? It's just literally ADP. This is the player going the most at the 206, at the 207. That's why this team has 5 quarterbacks. It's not a real draft. It's just these are where these players are going roughly. He's all the way down here. I'll zoom in a little bit. Kelsey at the 806. I think that's pretty good value. I'm thinking early on, I'm probably going to be, if I want a tight end in the first 6 to 8 rounds, I'm really liking this tight end value that's falling right now even Laporta, but in Hawkinson, Kelsey, Andrews, Evan Ingram, even guys like Jonnu and Njoku. So that's going to, because I feel like the tight end position is pretty deep this year. I feel like I say that a lot, but I'm fine with really any of these guys. Plus there's a couple late guys that I'm pretty good with, like a Pat Freiermuth, Hunter Henry, Mike Gesicki. But I think I'm going to pass on these early tight ends. Maybe if they fall a little bit, if Bowers falls somehow to the 2-3 turn, I might take him. Or if McBride falls. He has taken a little bit of a backseat. That being said, Travis Kelce still had 98 catches last year. 97 catches last year and 133 targets in 16 games. The issue with Kelce was the touchdowns. So if he can get back to, I don't think he's going to catch 90 plus passes if Rashee Rice is healthy, if everyone's healthy, right, from the get-go. That's the biggest concern is Kelce struggled last year in the beginning of the year because of Rashee Rice, right? And then when Rice got hurt, Kelce had four of his 5 biggest games came in the next 5 weeks, right? Or 4 of his biggest games came in the next 5 weeks. So I think it's going to be interesting to see, okay, what does Kelce look like when Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, Marquise Brown, and I always forget about Marquise Brown. Marquise Brown's there. Even someone like a Jalen Royals, Noah Gray taking more snaps. I still think Kelce can make up for that. Maybe a little bit less yards than we're used to, a little bit less catches by the touchdowns. He only had 3 touchdowns last year. He only had 5 the year before. Can he get back to 8 touchdowns? And in the red zone, I still think he's very effective. I still think Mahomes is going to look for him, and you don't need as much youth to be effective in the red zone, right? And so I could see Kelce having like an 80, 85 catch, 850-yard season, but he gives you 8 touchdowns, and for that, he's going to be really good. So also you can make the argument that with these other weapons, teams are going to stop focusing on Kelce as much, and that's going to leave him more wide open. So he has fallen, but I'm really loving. I mean, even like I said, even Laporta, but like I probably still pass on Laporta, knowing that guys like Hawkinson could go pretty late. Kelce, Andrews does. I don't understand the Andrews ranking and stuff like that. So I kind of like where the value of tight ends this year and not taking the top guys. It would be hilarious if Darnold pulls a Matt Flynn. That would be pretty hilarious indeed. I mean, good for Seattle, though. What's up, Marvin? You traded 2 26 seconds and a 27 third for Montgomery in a 14-man league. Okay. Are you a contender here? Yeah. It looks like you are. Let's see. You got Montgomery, Charbonnet, K9, Caleb, Tootin, Monungai, Marks, Krosky, Merritt. Okay, I like that running back room. Pollard as well. Hope to draft a rookie running back with 106, 107 in this year's rookie draft 2026. Yeah, we'll see. I think the running back class this year is going to be pretty good. Personally, I know people are talking about 26. It's not going to be as good. People said the exact same thing about 2025, and then look what happened. All you need for a rookie draft to be good is deep in a position or two. Why was this year's rookie draft good? It was extremely deep at running back, which pushed a lot of good wide receivers down the board. Tight ends was a little bit deep. It pushed players down the board. That's all we need. And I think there's a chance that there's a couple first-round running backs here. Jeremiah Love out of Notre Dame. To me, if I had to bet on someone being the 101 in rookie drafts next year, even in Superflex, it's Jeremiah Love. Mekhi Hughes. I kind of like Nicholas Singleton, Katron Allen. So there's some good running backs this year. So I think you might be looking good there to get a running back there. When you're a contender, your only hope is to trade for someone else's first and hope. Yeah. Always banking on those teams that are going to kind of, banking on the teams that you think are not going to be good they think they're going to be good. I mean, that's just, and it works out for you. Like that's kind of how you dominate fantasy, really. But yeah, looking at some of these, first round is pretty standard here. To me, Chase and Bijan are kind of those two are in a tier by themselves. I don't really see going any other direction besides those two with the 101 and 102 where I stand right now. The next group of guys I agree with: Jefferson, Saquon, Lamb, Gibbs. I'm hoping – I feel like Lamb could fall in some drafts. And so I'm really hoping, like, if I'm drafting at like the 107, 108 range, Lamb falls to me, because I know people are a little bit down on they're not down on Lamb, but like, I mean, the guy had an incredible year in 2023, one of the best receiving years, like top 10 receiving years we've seen in a while. And then was still pretty good last year. Wide receiver 8 per game in PPR, with Dak Prescott missing like half the season. And that Cowboys offense was not good. So I'm still pretty high on Lamb. To me, I think there's a pretty good chance I'm actually taking Lamb over Jefferson. I haven't set that in stone yet, but I think Jefferson's ceiling is a bit capped because of McCarthy. And I'm not saying Jefferson's going to be bad because Justin Jefferson was wide receiver 4 last year, and we are all worried about Darnold. But now you have a healthy Hawkinson back for the full year. Obviously, Addison's still there. Now you essentially have a rookie quarterback. I know he's a second-year guy, but I think they could run the ball a lot. I think Lamb has a higher ceiling than Jefferson, so I'm probably going to go Lamb over Jefferson. Guys like Neighbors, Puka, this all makes sense. Genty, you guys, I told you how I feel about McCaffrey. I don't mind taking him as high as like the 108, 107, 108 this year. I really don't. Not much else really to talk about. These guys are great players. Second round to me is interesting. I think there's a lot of nice value in the back half of the second round that I'm interested in. Guys like I just think the second round is so much better than last year's second round. A little bit worried about someone like McConkey being a second round pick. I think I would take most of these guys before McConkey. Jonathan Taylor for sure. To me, Jonathan Taylor could be RB1 if that Colts offense could just be top 15 in the league. Be in the low end of the top half, right? Just be an average to a slightly above average offense. And I think Jonathan Taylor could be a top 3 running back. Bucky Irving's going to be an interesting one, but I do like Bucky Irving this year. Josh Jacobs, I think, is going to kind of like rinse and repeat from last year. Maybe they run the ball a little bit less, but if they run the ball a little bit less, he probably gets some more catches, maybe 45, 50 catches. Probably closer to like 45 catches. So I'm a little bit concerned, and I'm a Chargers fan. I love McConkey. I just really think like the proof is in the pudding. And sometimes like we have to look at what a team does, right? Not what they say, but look at what a team does. And what did the Chargers do this year? What are some of the moves that stand out for the Chargers this year? They brought in Mekhi Becton from the Philadelphia Eagles, who's just a mauler in the run game, former tackle, moved to guard. They brought him in on a free agent contract. They brought in Najee Harris. They drafted Omarion Hampton. This team is going to run the ball, in my opinion, like 500. Ideally, 500. If things go their way, they're running the ball 500 times this year. And so that's going to be like 30 runs a game. And so that leaves you probably around 30 passing attempts per game for Herbert. And I think, of course, you could do that. Ask away, Rocky. As long as it's not political, I'm not going to get into political stuff. I use this as an escape from all that crap. Not that it's crap, but it's important. But I use it as an escape. So, I'm a little bit worried. I'm at McConkey in the middle of the second round. So, that's the second round though. I'm a lot more excited. I'm also probably out on Bowers. I know if you want Bowers, you're gonna have to take him here because he's not gonna last to the third round where you're picking, and so you always have to think about that and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm just a little bit concerned. I think that team, the Raiders, I think they threw the ball the 4th most times in the NFL last year, just because they were so bad, and they were trailing. I think they're going to be better, which could increase touchdowns for Bowers, and then everything's fine. But I don't think they're going to be throwing the ball as much. Pete Carroll, if you go back and look at the Seahawks pass attempts per game, a lot of times they're in the bottom half of the NFL. I don't know. I'm a little bit concerned about taking Bowers that high. I don't hate it, but I think I'd much rather have McBride later. And I just like Kittle could be tight end 1 and you're getting him 2 rounds later. I'd much rather just go after Kittle a couple rounds later here. So, and then we get into the third round. We got some interesting guys here like Garrett Wilson, Chase Brown, Rashee Rice. A lot's going to depend on this. Could obviously change a lot. I don't think it's going to go much higher than this. But I mean, if Rashee Rice played the entire year last year, and we base it off of what he was doing his first 3 weeks, he would have been a first round pick in fantasy this year. But obviously he got hurt. There's still that potential for suspension and things like that. So yeah, I this could change potentially if he's not ready for the season. Hopefully he is. I really hope he is. I mean, he'll be. He got hurt pretty early on, yeah. I mean, Rashee Rice is going to be an interesting one here. I generally pass on early quarterbacks, and I'll tell you why in just a bit. But if you are going to take a quarterback early, please make sure it's a rushing quarterback. Lamar, Allen, Hurts, Daniels, those guys need to be going in the top. They need to be going 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever order you want. Devontae Adams, middle of the third round, is very interesting to me, but I see why. He's on the Rams and he's still really, really good. Rocky says Kittle was phenomenal value last year. I wonder how Geno is going to shake out. I saw a metric where he was the top. Yeah, I've seen a lot of good metrics on Geno. If you watched, I kind of, for whatever reason, I watched a decent amount of Seattle Seahawks games, not being a fan of them. I think I worked a lot of their games for PFF and stuff. And things would just happen to that team where it's just they're in the red zone, they're at the goal line, and the ball gets snapped over Geno's head or something, and then there goes a scoring opportunity, and just weird. They were so frustrating. I think Geno was at one point leading the NFL in pass attempts. He threw 4,300 yards. He had over 70% completion percentage, but he threw 21 touchdowns, 15. It was off. It was off. I don't know how it's going to shake out. They still have a good wide receiver. I think Raiders offense has a very good chance of being a top 10, 12 offense next year with Geno and Genti in the backfield. You have Jacoby Myers, who's a really good wide receiver. They drafted Besh. They like this guy Thornton. They have Bowers, obviously. So I think they could be a pretty solid offense this year. So yeah, I'm just not sure with Bowers. I don't know. I think I'm probably just going to pass and shoot for one of these guys down here. Marvin Harrison, Tyreek Hill. You have a lot of. I generally don't like to take question marks, and this is a little bit this is and kind of going back to was it you, Rocky, that said that? About you had a good feel on the rankings and stuff. It kind of goes back to this where it's you start getting question marks in the third round. Marvin Harrison Jr. is a major question mark. Tyreek Hill is a major question mark. I mean, Terry McLaurin, I don't think is necessarily a question mark, but you can make the argument and say, look, the guy scored 12, 14 touchdowns last year. You go look at his catch and yardage numbers. It's not that different from his career averages. Is he going to catch another 12, 14 touchdowns or whatever it is that he caught? And you can make the argument that no, he won't. I like McLaurin, but, Breece Hall is kind of a question. You have some question marks that kind of come up pretty quickly here. I think Kyren is an incredible value. I don't 100%. I don't 100% understand. I don't 100% understand the Kyren. You guys can tell me because maybe I'm wrong, but why is Kyren Williams not looked at in this tier of guys? In the Achans, the Taylors, the Bucky Irvings, Josh Jacobs. Go look at every single running back's stats over the last 2 years, combined and stuff. Kyren Williams has been the RB1 if you combine 23 and 24 together. I'm pretty sure about that. Bijan had a disappointing rookie year. Kyren was much better. Saquon wasn't he had a massive 24 season, a good 23 season. Jahmyr Gibbs might be pretty close. Genty's obviously a rookie. McCaffrey was hurt last year. Derrick Henry, not as incredible as he was in 2023, in 2024. He wasn't as good in 2023 as he was in 2024. JT, I think he was coming off an injury in 2023, and Bucky Irving is a one-year guy. Josh Jacobs was a bit of a disappointment in 2023, and things like that. So like Kyren Williams has been the number one running back if you combine 23 and 24 together. What are we worried about? Are we worried about Blake Corum? Are we worried about Jarquez Hunter, the other rookie they drafted? Are we worried about injuries for Kyren Williams? It really goes to show you, and this is very important for Dynasty, and I talk about it all the time, not breaking out year one, especially as a day 3 pick, people are always going to hold that against you. They're always going to be skeptical of you because Kyren was a 5th round pick. He ran a slow 40. He was terrible. He didn't do anything in year one, and people kind of still hold that against him, even though he's had 2 back-to-back incredible seasons. He's on one of the best offenses in the league, and he's on a team in the Rams. History has shown that they just full-on overload their RB1, whether it's Todd Gurley, whether it's Sony Michel for a stretch. Go look at Sony Michel back in, I forget what year exactly, 21 or 22. He had like a 6-7 game stretch where he was playing 90% of the snaps. Darrell Henderson was like that. Cam Akers was like that. And now Kyren, like, I don't know. What is the hate against Kyren? I just think he's incredible value here because I just see him kind of repeating what he did last year. The touchdowns are always going to be hard to bank on, but like he's on a really good offense if they're all healthy. And so he has as good of an opportunity to put up double-digit touchdowns as anyone else, in my opinion. Rocky agrees with the Marvin Harrison Jr. You just don't know what version of Kyler Murray. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to trust him. It is. I know the potential is there, but it is tough to trust him. But then I kind of look at the guys going after him, like Mike Evans is a little bit of a question mark. Like he's getting up there in age. I still think he's going to be good, but he's 32 or 33, whatever he is. DJ Moore, there's questions. So like, it's basically a group of players where there's a lot. To me, there's several question marks. Even guys like Worthy and Ted McMillan, and I can see why Marvin Harrison's going there just because of the potential. So, off-topic question: would you stay at your current job if it's 4 days a week? Chill, great boss, coworkers, no stress. Or take a new one with a 30% raise, more stress, new team and management role. That's a good question. I think 30% is a pretty significant, me personally looking at 30%, I think that's a pretty significant raise. Now, if it's like 10%, 15%, I think all those things you're talking about are different. It also depends on, and I don't want you to tell me this and stuff, but like what I'm making at that first job. If I feel like I'm already living very comfortably and my work-life balance is great, I have time to do things that I want to do, hobbies, whatever it is, and I'm still getting paid enough to live comfortably, then I could see the case for kind of keeping that. Also, it sounds like you're moving up into a bigger role, and that's going to give you more experience, which is going to be good for future on your resume, your CV. It's going to be good for future, for future employment and stuff like that. So, opportunity to grow is, if it's important to you and in that field that you're working in, then potentially take it. It really depends on like, am I working in my career or is it just like a new job, right? Is it like you're still in school or, you're still looking for like more of what your career is going to be? Or is this just like a job where you're earning money? That those things can come into factor. But I would say 30% is pretty significant, especially, we kind of live in a little bit of a, there's a lot of questions in the world today, just in terms of everything, really. So, you want to make sure that you're kind of set up for the future a little bit in case things unexpectedly happen. So, tough question. A lot of it does factor into kind of those things that I was saying. Um, I can't give you a definitive answer there, but 30% raise is pretty hard to pass up. I would say that's pretty significant, and just kind of think about the opportunities that can give you. But at the same time, like, then I think our generation. I don't know how old you are, Rocky, but my generation. I'm 35, millennial. So millennials and older Gen Z. Our generations, we very much value like finding jobs that we love, right? And working jobs that we love. Okay, so yeah, you're with me there. Um, so like working jobs that we love, and we value that a little bit more than, let's say, my dad, who's in that boomer range, and it's more about like work is work. You shouldn't have to enjoy it type of thing. So um, yeah, I would say if it's going to completely stress you out and you're just going to kind of hate your life, then maybe it's not worth it. You know, I definitely value that. And again, assuming that you make a pretty you live comfortably with that other job, that also comes into play a little bit. If you're struggling to get by, then that's a different thing. So let me know how it goes, and hopefully, I mean, I know you're smart enough, and you'll definitely make the right decision for sure. But yeah, feel free to ask non-fantasy football sports related, any sport really that I'm big into baseball. Baseball and football are really my sports. But whatever you guys feel like asking, non-political, just so we can escape a little bit from it. Second half of the fourth round here, kind of getting back to this ADP is another one where it's like really, really, really interesting. Like guys like Xavier Worthy, Ted McMillan, Jameson Williams. Like Jameson Williams is a fourth round pick. I don't know, Rocky. I liked you until then because I'm a Padres fan. I'm sorry. And it used to be the Raiders. So I was born in San Diego, so it used to be Raiders were my most hated team, but it just felt sad after a while hating on the Raiders. I hate the Dodgers. Now I respect them, but man, do I hate the Dodgers so much. So I like the rivalry. I know Dodgers fans don't like to call it a rivalry. Padres haven't won a World Series, and that's all fair to say. But I kind of like them throwing pitches at each other. It brings attention to the sport. So, anything that makes baseball, yeah, it was hilarious. Anything that makes baseball more, kind of engages more people into it, I'm all for. So, I'll say this: that loss last year the Padres had to the Dodgers in that series. Padres were the better team last year. Um, in my opinion, and that was their best chance to win the World Series. I think the Padres Dodgers series last year was the World Series last year, and they just couldn't hit those last two games. And I was pretty. It took me a while. I'm still not over it, but it took me a while to recover from that. So that and the 2006 14-2 San Diego Chargers with the MVP and LT and by far the best team in the league that year, losing to the Patriots in the divisional round was tough because they had them beat and they made a stupid mistake. And those two really stick out to me in terms of fandom. Those are really the only two teams I support. So, I haven't seen a championship in my lifetime. And I don't know when I will, but hey, we'll stay positive. So I can't. I think they don't play again for another couple months, Padres Dodgers. But I'm excited to watch them play. I think it's like 6 more games that they play, and hopefully in the playoffs again, because it's fun. It is fun indeed. But yeah, this back half of the fourth round is, man. What do you guys think? Again, this is just ADP. It's not from a whole lot of sources, and it could be heavily best ball influenced as well. So this could change, absolutely change, but like, man, I see guys like Xavier Worthy, Ted McMillan, Amarion Hampton, Jamison Williams, DK Metcalf. Like DK Metcalf, I really like, but Jamison Williams, like these guys make me a little nervous. They make me a little bit nervous. Like to me, there's two guys that really stand out to me. It's Kenneth Walker in the back half of the fourth. It's Kenneth Walker and Metcalf, and Kenneth Walker makes me nervous as well. Those two guys, to me, are potential top 5 at their position type of players. I think Metcalf, with Rodgers' history of just absolutely peppering his number one target, I think Metcalf could have his best season. And it just feels like we need a Kenneth Walker is a good running back. He just can't stay healthy, right? Like go look at Kenneth Walker's points per game last year. Kenneth Walker averaged more points per game than Chuba Hubbard, more points per game than Chase Brown, than James Conner, than Montgomery, than Bucky Irving. This is PPR. Breece Hall. All these guys. He averaged more points, but he averaged 0.2 points less per game than James Cook. He averaged half a point less than Kyren Williams. Less than a point less. That was weird. Less than a point. 0.7 points less than Jacobs and Joe Mixon. The issue with him is just health. But like it just feels like we need a top 7, top 5 Kenneth Walker season. It feels like running backs that are this talented, they always seem to have at least one really good year. At least one. Now running backs, they can fall off quickly, but running backs that good, and I think Kenneth Walker is good, is really, really good. Running backs that good, they always seem to have that at least that one season where it's like, yeah, I remember Kenneth, I remember this player from this year won me my championship. So those two guys, Kenneth Walker and DK Metcalf, I'm really interested in if I'm in this back half of the 4th round. Basically once guys like DJ Moore, James Cook, maybe Kittle and Hurts are gone, even at the 407, I'm going to be looking at those two players if it kind of keeps this way. Because both those guys I think could be top 5, top 7 players. Again, just like Pittsburgh, who are their receivers right now? Is it going to be, I know they have basically what they have is like Metcalf, Robert Woods, and Calvin Austin are the 2 and 3. Roman Wilson is the wide receiver 4. He didn't even play last year, or maybe he played in one game. Robert Woods is 33, whatever age he's at. Calvin Austin's a deep threat. Like we could just be seeing a huge Metcalf season. So yeah, it's again, this is for redraft. It's just ADP stuff. It's not a real draft, but Kenneth Walker, DK Metcalf, 2 guys that I'm really going to be looking at. And I really like the beginning of the 5th round. Guys like Devontae Smith. If I can have Devontae Smith as my wide receiver 3, I love it. If he's my wide receiver 2, I'm a little bit worried. But as my wide receiver 3, I love it because he can win you your week each and every week. When he goes off. Cortland Sutton, I think, is just going to kind of rinse and repeat. Kamara, Chuba Hubbard, Mixon, Connor. These guys I really like, especially the running backs there. Kamara, Hubbard, Mixon, and Connor. I really, really like those old the old crusty guys. Shout out Freddie. I hope you get your e-bike. I'll shout you out. I mean, I don't know what else you want me to do, but if anyone can get a free e-bike from me just shouting him out, I will shout you out. So shout out Freddie and shout out Freddie's mom. I hope you get that e-bike. Be safe, wear a helmet, follow the laws, whatever you need to do there. Where were we? Rocky, you're just like Dodgers and Raiders. That's tough. That is tough. Man, I don't know what to say anymore, Rocky. I'll still answer your questions, though. Marvin says, would you trade Pollard for a 2nd and 3rd regardless of format? Um, I think that's about what you can get for him. I think Pollard's a little bit underrated, personally. Like, go look at Pollard's stats the last 3 years. They're basically identical, and the only difference in the 1 year, like we the last year in Dallas, the second his last year where with Zeke and Pollard 2022. We loved Pollard because he was like a top 10 running back. And we got him at really good value. But go look at like his numbers the last 3 years. They're basically identical. It's like 1,350 total yards. It's right around 45 catches on average. The only big difference is the touchdowns. Pollard had again, 2022, Pollard had 39 catches, 1,378 total yards. 2027 or 2024, Pollard had 41 catches, so two more catches, 1,317 yards. So he had about 60 less yards, two more catches. The big difference, he had seven more touchdowns in 2022. And so, like, I think he's a little bit underrated. I think they kind of know that Tajay Spears. I don't know. I think they like Tony Pollard more than Tajay Spears. They were kind of showing that, and whenever they were healthy, it was kind of Pollard's backfield in terms of who got the touches. And so I wouldn't be shocked if Pollard, like, to me, is like a low end RB2 again with the top 15 potential. Because what if Cam Ward's good? What if that offense is good? Pollard did all this on a really crappy offense with Will Levis and Mason Rudolph. What if Cam Ward's good and that offense is good? Pollard could have 10 touchdowns. So that would really depend on my team, Marvin. Like, what is Pollard to me? Is he my RB5? Then I would probably just do it, get the value for him now, and just hope, like, you're minimizing your risk there. Like, I don't think you can get much more for him. You're going to get less for him if if they do use Tajay Spears more, or if he gets hurt. And he's my RB5, so I might as well get something for him. If he's like my RB3, I think I would want 2 seconds. Now, if you tell me both those are early picks, you're kind of banking on them being early picks, then I'd be fine with it. But I assume the person trading for Pollard is trying to contend. So we're talking back half of each round for those picks. So I don't mind it, depending on what he is to you on your team. Like, is he just kind of like your bye week bench guy, backup if your other guys get hurt? Or is he like kind of fringe starter for you? I feel like it's a proving ground season for Metcalf. If Rodgers peppers him and he still disappoints midseason, then it's clearly a talent issue. But is it worth a 4th round? I think it is. And, like, to me, so, by the way, where Metcalf is going here is as wide receiver 25. I'd be very, very surprised. Like, to me, if Metcalf doesn't finish as a wide receiver 24 or better, to me, it means like Rodgers got hurt or he got hurt. If both those guys are healthy, I would be shocked if Metcalf is not at least wide receiver 24. So I just feel like I'm getting him at his floor. And when I can get guys at their floor and I think they have like top 5, top 7 potential, to me, that's like a easy smash pick. So, yeah, that's just kind of how I feel about Metcalf. Like, I'm getting him at his floor, and I think he can be top 7 in his position. That's easy for me, to take him there. Whereas I don't feel the same way with Jameson Williams, with Ted McMillan, with Xavier Worthy. I just don't. So, yeah. But again, Metcalf has never been a big target hog type of guy. So, I don't know. Maybe Rodgers changed that. Would you hold Pollard for 3 seasons for getting value? Yeah, it just depends, Marvin, really. I don't know if you answered the question about what he is to your team. To me, that's a little bit important when this question, like, it just depends. Like, if I don't think I'm a contender, then I'm fine trading Pollard for the 2nd and 3rd. If I think I'm a contender and I'm going to be using Pollard this year, I probably want 2 seconds, and I don't think I'm going to get it. But I could get it in the middle of the season. So Montgomery or a 28 first. I'd probably just take Montgomery. Also depends on my team though. Like, am I trying to rebuild over the next couple of years, so next year? Then I'll take the first. I am a little bit interested. I love David Montgomery. I've loved him since he played at Iowa State. I traded for him 2 seasons in a row in 2020 and 2021 in my main home league that we've been playing for 10 years now. And he helped me win the championship in both those leagues because he had an incredible fantasy playoff run. I've always loved Montgomery, thought he was underrated, still think he's kind of underrated. Where's he going at in this draft here? At the 606. So that's probably a little bit closer. Like the previous 2 years, it felt like Montgomery was going like round 8. And I was just like smash value for Montgomery. I am curious though, is this the year that we see a little bit less usage from Montgomery? Not because like he's old or anything, but the Lions are 100% a better offense with Jahmyr Gibbs on the field. If he could play every single snap, if this was Madden and you could turn off the injury settings and your players couldn't get injured, Montgomery would never see the field. It'd be Gibbs every single play. The problem is that's not what happens, right? And so they don't want to use Gibbs like that. And so that's why Montgomery, who's a good running back in his own, that's why he's so important to that team. Is to keep them both healthy. They want both of them. I am curious, though, because you have a change in coordinator. And generally, especially when there's a veteran quarterback who's been paired with the same coordinator for multiple years, which I think it's 2.5 years for Goff and Ben Johnson, and Ben Johnson's gone now. They have a new coordinator. Now, it is important to say that coordinator was on the Lions staff. I think he was the QB coach or offensive assistant or something to Ben Johnson. So it's not like he's a complete foreign, strange stranger. He was on this team, on the Lions a couple years ago under Ben Johnson. But if that offense struggles and you get rumblings from the crowd and the media, what's wrong with the Lions and stuff, could that pressure him a little bit into, I need to use Gibbs more? Essentially, like Montgomery and Gibbs over the last 2 years have been like, as close to like a 50-50 kind of split as you can get, right? Just looking at their offensive snaps, it was, usually 50-50 or like 60-40 at worst, right? For, 40 for the Montgomery side. I'm curious if it goes from 50-50 to more of a 60-40 for the whole season, or from a 50-50 to a 65-35, where like Montgomery is still used and he's still kind of fulfilling his purpose as like to take Gibbs off the field, but they use him just a little bit more just because they know their offense is better. I think the Lions are still going to be a very good team. I think they're one of the top Super Bowl contenders. I think they're going to enter the playoffs in a better position this year than they did last year. However, I think their record's going to be worse. I think they're going to be an 11-6 team. And they're going to struggle. They're not going to. I don't think they're going to be 14-2 or 15-2, whatever they were last year. I am curious about that, but I think I would keep Montgomery. If you're telling me like you're a contending team, if you're trying to rebuild, then I'll take the first pretty easy. Joe Mixon is interesting too. He was a top 7 running back. Yeah, Mixon's another one. Yeah, this group of veteran running backs here. Going back to Omarion Hampton, like I want to take him. I just think Najee's going to be used. Like I think they're going to be. It's a potential. If you remember Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon 2020 season, that like literally they had like identical stats, like 50-50 down to the carry. I think it could be kind of like that. I think this team likes Najee too much. He does the little things too well. He never gets hurt. He doesn't fumble. He gets you the tough yards. He can catch the ball. He can pass block. All these things. I don't see Najee coming off the field. And I think it's more of a 1-2 punch. And that's going to really limit Omarion Hampton. I think I would take these veteran running backs. My gut feeling is I would look to target these veteran running backs over Omarion Hampton. And that's nothing against Omarion Hampton. That's just how I think he's going to be used. Like, he's going as RB16. Going as RB16, that makes me nervous. That really, if I could get him here, I'd be okay with it in this late round 5. But late round 4, man, that scares me a little bit. It does in redraft. I'm talking redraft. Mixon's still 28. Barkley. Yeah, and what we're seeing, and by the way, I'm going to put a video out on this because everyone says, oh, old running backs, they don't produce, right? I think it's more of a case of running backs. Obviously, they have a shorter shelf life, right? I think it's just more of a case of like, are there good enough running backs to play into age 30? So I'm going to go and look, and what I'm going to look at is every single running back age 30 or more to have basically the lead role for their team. How do they do? Because my feeling is that those running backs, if they got the workload, they were good. And there's a reason why at age 30 they're getting the workload. It's guys like Derrick Henry. It's guys like Saquon's talent. It's all these players. So I still think I think the whole 28, you got to be out on them. I think that we were proven wrong last year a little bit. If Josh Allen can make Shakir look good, surely he can. Josh Palmer was an absolute steal. Yeah. And I'm kind of out on Shakir, by the way. I'll much rather take guys like Pearsall, Pollard, the other wide receivers. I mean, I would absolutely in redraft take Cooper Kupp over Shakir. That's an easy. I mean, the Cooper Kupp value is Cooper Kupp fell off in the fantasy playoffs. And that's what people remember. Go to Fantasy Pros. You can change the weeks. Fantasy Pros, it shows you their points per games, total points, average. Go and change it. PPR weeks 1 to 14. And go look at the wide receiver points per game. Cooper Kupp was the wide receiver 5. I know he missed 5 games, but in points per game, he was the wide receiver 5 overall. And then he just fell off. I don't know what happened, right? And that, by the way, Puka Nacua was the wide receiver 4. So the JSN argument, well, JSN's there. That doesn't really necessarily apply. I mean, obviously different offense and stuff, but Puka Nacua is wide receiver 4 during that stretch. So I think Cooper Kupp's an easy smash. I mean, I'm taking Cooper Kupp probably early round. I'd be thinking about Kupp here in the early round 7. Like, I would take him over Jacoby Myers, Aaron Jones, Tony Pollard, just because I think the potential is top 12. I think that's his potential. Now, I know he can't stay healthy, but even give me 10 weeks. Give me 10 weeks of top tier production. Get me in the playoffs, and I'll figure out the rest. So, what are your thoughts on the Seahawks? Freddie says. Seahawks are going to be interesting. I think they're going to be more of a run first team. I think they have the ability to contend. I think they're going to be in terms of just their. If you're talking fantasy, that's different. But in terms of their team overall, I think they're going to be down to the last week of the season, and they're potentially going to make the playoffs. They're going to be one of those teams that's like, oh, if they win and this team loses in week 18, they make the playoffs. That's kind of where I think they're going to be. 9-win, 10-win team. Yeah, I just feel that way with Hampton. Like, when you get these running backs who are just like, we don't like them necessarily because we think they're slow, or we think they're, they can't bust off big runs and stuff. I think how do I word this? I think if you ask an NFL head coach, would you rather one 40-yard run? Maybe I'm completely wrong. Let's just say like 1 30-yard run, or but okay, I'm trying to think how to word this. 1 30-yard run, but you also get 4 negative runs, and that's because of the running back. That's like the running back that is kind of causing that to be a negative yardage, versus like, do you want 3 10-yard runs or something? I don't know. I'm wording it terribly, but my point is a negative yard run is kind of detrimental. If you get -2 yards on a carry, on first down, to me, that's worse than a false start because now it's 2nd and 12, 2nd and 13 rather than 1st and 15. So like I think those really kill drives, and I think coaches like they just love the players that are they're no nonsense, get the tough yards. So I don't know. I just think it's a little bit too rich for me for Hampton personally. I think Pacheco produces his upcoming season. I kind of like Pacheco too. I've never been a big Pacheco guy, but I think we're a little bit too quick to be out on him. Like the guy came back from a broken leg in like, what was it, 8 weeks or something. We saw, and over the last couple of years, we saw Tony Pollard be affected well into a year after he broke his leg. Mark Andrews last year, remember he broke his leg in 2023, at the end of 2023. That's part of the reason why Mark Andrews started off slow, in my opinion. And so for Pacheco to come back in like 8 weeks, I think he rushed back a little bit. I'm not really holding that against him. And he very well could be kind of what he was, what we expected him to be in 2024. And he kind of started off the season that way. I know it's a short sample size before he broke his leg, but Pacheco was really good the first 2 weeks of the season last year before he broke his leg. He averaged 17 carries a game. He averaged about 50 yards rushing. Like he was pretty good. He was, in terms of touches and opportunity, he had 17 and 24 touches. So he's basically averaging 20 touches a game. So I think he's a little bit underrated there, Kevin. I think he is. So I kind of like him here. A couple of other guys I really like, so I'm going to be wrapping it up soon, but we'll get back and talk more about this and later on. But there's some players like Javonte Williams to get potential starting running back here this late. To me is intriguing. Some of these later tight ends like Freiermuth. I mean, we just talked about how much I love DK Metcalf. Freiermuth could be the number 2 target on that team. So, yeah. Some Roschon Johnson as well. Like, we're all excited about Swift because the Bears didn't bring anyone in. I don't think they're going to give Swift 300 touches. I think Swift is best when he gets like 180 touches in a season. And I think Swift's going to be pretty good this year. But I kind of want Swift like 200 touches max. I think that's where he's best. 12 touches a game. Give me 8-9 carries. Give me 2-3 catches. And do your thing, you know? And so I think Roschon could potentially be a little bit undervalued as well. Would you ever trade down from Josh Allen? I'd need a lot. Now, if it's a deeper league, Marvin, like, is this a 12? Is this a start 8, start 9? Like, are you starting 1 flex, 2 flexes? Then to me, I want Josh Allen. In my listener leagues, we play in a 12-team start 12. And so depth is incredibly important. And so diversifying an asset like a Josh Allen, like a top-tier player into – if you can diversify Allen into another really good quarterback and 2 other starters, then I think that's probably going to help your team a little bit more. But if it's like a 12-team – if you're playing in a league where you're starting a quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, a flex, a super flex, that's 8. I just want the top tier guys. I don't really care too much about wide receiver 20 in those leagues. I don't care about running back 20 in those leagues. I need top 5, top 10 guys. So it kind of depends on the league format there, personally. But it would take a lot, depending on who I'm trading down to. If I'm trading down to a guy like Drake May, and then I'm a little bit more intrigued. By the way, the quarterbacks that I always tend to find the late, you know, Jaden Daniels last year, Justin Fields a couple of years ago. I tried to find the late guys that I think can give me good rushing production. Kyler Murray, Drake May is a big target for me. I think Dak is incredibly underrated, but in terms of guys that I think could be like top 5 guys because of their rushing potential, you know, Kyler, Drake May are 2 guys that I'm really going to be looking at a lot, especially Drake May. I'm kind of all in on him. So I'll probably get to this last one and then take off, guys. But Rocky says, I think I'm out on Drake London this year. I kind of agree. I think I'm out on, like, I would take BTJ over him. I would take Henry over him. I would take McCaffrey. Obviously, all these other guys in the first round. I would take Achane over London. I'd take AJ Brown over London. I'd probably push London more to this range. So if I have to take him over BTJ, AJ Brown, Achane, Derrick Henry to get him, I think I'm out on him. I might even take a guy like Jonathan Taylor over him. That being said, he did kind of show out with the small sample size of Michael Penix. He had 39 targets in 3 games with Michael Penix. One of those was an 18-target game, but he had 8, 13, and 18. So even if that 18-target game is a normal game, a 10-target game, he's still getting over 10 targets a game with Michael Penix. So, but he just doesn't create a lot after the catch. He's good at getting open, but he doesn't create a lot after the catch. And so I think he's going to be kind of limited. Like, he caught 100 passes last year, 1,200 yards. Like, can he get much better than that? I don't know. But I could be wrong there. Mark is here. Hey, he made some trades on that 16-team Super League. Okay, drop him in here before I take off. I'd love to hear him because I'm probably going to be taking off here in just a couple of minutes. So drop him in. By the way, guys, just a little, the normal reminder here. Make sure to hit the like button. Make sure to subscribe if you're not. Join our Discord if you're not in our Discord. We're going to be putting together some listener leagues for redraft. I'm going to start piecing those together very, very soon. Hoping to get 2 or 3 with our listeners. We have 3 dynasty leagues, so I think we can get at least 2 redraft leagues. It will be paid, but we're not going to go crazy. I think $30 is the buy-in for the dynasty league. So we don't have to get too crazy with it. But yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. And join our Discord. I just put the link there. Marvin, it's easy. Are you talking about for dynasty or redraft? Either way, actually, I think it's easy Drake May for me. I like Herbert. I'm a Chargers fan. I don't think that team's going to throw the ball a lot. If you heard me talk about them, kind of focusing on I think they're going to run the ball 500 times. I know Herbert started to throw the ball a little bit more, but even when he started to throw the ball a little bit more, he still kind of he had 413 attempts in 13 games. The beginning of the year, he wasn't throwing at all. And then in the middle of the year, he kind of moved up. To about 30 pass attempts a game. You stat that out over 17. Stat that out. I sounded Canadian there. You stat that out. I don't know how to do it. I just feel like I went Canadian there for a second. You stat that out for 17 games. That's 540 pass attempts. His big years, Herbert, he was at 595 his rookie year. So 600 pass attempts, 672, 699. So we're talking about 150 less pass attempts per game, per season, even if he throws the ball 30, 32 times, which is what he was doing last year when he started to throw the ball more. So I don't know. I just don't really see it for Herbert. I think he's going to be a low in QB1. I shouldn't say I don't see it. I think he's a low in QB1, where I think Drake May, Herbert to me falls between the 10 and 15 range, whereas I think Drake May has a chance to be top 7 because of his rushing ability. Drake May was on pace on the games that he played for 650 rushing yards. I think I heard he had 3 designed rush attempts. 3 designed rush attempts. All that came on scrambling. So if they give him more designed runs, we could be seeing a big year from Drake May. So Mark Taylor says his roster, this is a 16-team super team. Oh, yes, I remember your super team. So you have Purdy, Herbert, Achane, Bucky, Chuba Hubbard, Kyron, Montgomery is insane. I mean, you got 3 of the top 10 running backs. You got 2 more that are probably, in Bucky and Montgomery that are probably in the top, Hubbard and Montgomery, excuse me. Hubbard's probably in the top 15-ish, Montgomery in the top 20-ish. You got 2 of the top 6 wide receivers in Chase and Amon-Ra. McConkey is going to be his top 10 to 12. Rushy Rice could easily be there. Calvin Ridley's going to be nice in 2025, I think. By the way, where's Calvin Ridley going in redraft right now? Oh, wow. He's going sixth round. Okay. That's about fair for him. And then Laporta and Njoku. 16 team, one quarterback, start 9 to your advice, and traded away Warren, Downs, and Mims and Dak. Okay. Yeah. No, that's a stacked team. I mean, one quarterback, you're set with Purdy and Herbert. So who did you add, Mark? Who did you add to your team? Here, I don't remember who you had before. I just remember it being stacked. But yeah, it looks like you did move off of Warren, which is fine because you have Laporta and Njoku. So, those guys are awesome. Josh Downs, although I like him, he's not – Josh Downs, to me, something bad would have to happen for you to start Josh Downs on this team with Jamar Chase, Amon-Ra, McConkey, Rice, and Ridley. Like, I think Downs would easily have been your last wide receiver in that group. So, looking good. I'm curious to see how that all plays out this year. Added Achane, Bucky, Rice, Ridley, and Purdy. That's insane, man. That is insane. Absolutely insane. Mark, were you the one that you basically took this over as an orphan? Was that you? It might have been a different one. But I know someone took a team over as an orphan and, like, stacked the team in a year somehow. I can't remember if that was you or not. That's insane. In a 16-team league, by the way. What was it? Start 9. So we're talking about if you play in 12-team leagues, that's equivalent to a 12-team start 12, which is incredibly deep. And we're talking about this guy is starting, one of those quarterbacks. He's starting. So let's just say Purdy, but either Purdy or Herbert. Let's just say Herbert. But either one he's starting. He's starting Achane, Bucky for sure. Chase and Amon-Ra for sure. And then probably McConkey, Kyren, Hubbard, Rice, and then he still has oh crap, I forgot about Laporta in a tight end premium. But so that means on his bench he still has guys like Rice, Montgomery, Ridley, Njoku. Yeah, that's insane. And you took it over at the end of last season, built this up over the summer. I mean, damn, the summer's only been a week. Oh, last season as in the 2023 football season. I think that's what you meant. When I hear last season now, I think 2024. But I think we're at that point now. Last season is 2024. Herbert or Geno? Judy, Herbert or Geno, Judy, and a 26 first. 3 for 1. How many starters in this league? How many starters in this league, Marvin? Is this a shallow league? I want to lean Geno, Judy, and the first. I'm curious at what other quarterbacks do you have? Is this super flex? I need a little bit more context here. Is Herbert your QB2? Is Herbert your QB3? I need a little bit more context. If he's your QB3, I think I'm okay with it. Probably, especially if you're starting like 10 or more. If he's your QB2, I don't feel great about it. Yeah. If you can add a little bit more context there in the next minute or two, because I do have to take off. Yeah, so you built it over the summer. I mean, I know what you meant. You built it over the last 5-6 months. So that's insane, man. That's insane. You should be on here telling us all how to pull all that. I don't know how you pulled that off in a 16-team league. That's insane. That's incredible. Start 8 or 9, and then is Herbert? Are you receiving Herbert or trading Herbert? I think in a start 8 or 9, I think I lean. And do you have any idea where that 26 first is going to be? Or is it like a complete random 26 first? 14 man. Okay, so it's a 14 man. Hmm. Let me see here. So you're basically, if it's a start 8, you're kind of still a little shallow. If it's a start 9, if it's a start 9, I think if it's a start, nah, I think I'm keeping Herbert. I think I want the Herbert side. Unless you told me this 26 first has a very good chance of being like top 5 next year, top 4 next year, I think I'm keeping Herbert. If it's truly you have no idea, it could easily be a late first, I think I'm keeping Herbert. Or, I want the Herbert side. If it's a very good chance at like top 4, then I think I'm okay with it. But I don't. It's a 14-man super flex. Like quarterbacks are hard to get. They're hard to get in 14. They're hard to get in 12-team super flexes. So let alone 14-man super flexes. Like you just do the math. If everyone's starting 2 quarterbacks, that means someone's starting QB 28, right? And so like if you have 3 really good quarterbacks, if you have 3 really good quarterbacks in a 14-team league, you're sitting pretty. You're sitting pretty. So I don't think I want to move off Herbert there. I would be more likely to take this trade, but that's because I overvalue Drake May personally because I think he's going to have a really good year. But right now, that move feels a little bit too lateral for me. If it was a second, I'd probably take it. May in a third. I would if I had to choose in a startup straight up, I'm taking May. So I feel like I'm getting something on top of May, so I'm okay with that trade. But it depends on how you personally feel about May. And so if you think it's if you like Herbert a little bit more, then it's a lateral move for you. And I don't really like making lateral moves. So see if you can get make that to a second, even if it's like you get a second and you have to trade a fourth. I'd be okay with that. But I don't think I want to do this other one in a 14-team league where I only have Josh Allen. I would have Josh Allen, Geno, and Daniel Jones. I'd much rather have Josh Allen, Herbert as my top 2 guys in a 14-team league where just getting quarterbacks is so hard. So hard. And we could have next year's quarterback class could be good, but it could also not be very good. And that'll be 2 years in a row without great quarterbacks. And then we start, getting a little thin at the quarterback position. So, but guys, I am going to take off, probably be back again Saturday morning. Really appreciate everyone. And hope everyone has a great rest of their week. And we'll catch you guys all on Saturday.